It begins in the North Atlantic, on a morning when the ocean looked like it had been forged from molten iron, November 14th, 1963, 7:15 a.m. A fishing vessel named Islafur, two cuts through freezing swells off the southern coast of Iceland. The crew has seen storms, whirlpools, even drifting icebergs, things that make hardened sailors flinch. But today they see something else, something no one alive has ever seen. At first it looks like smoke, black, twisting, rising straight out of the sea. Then the ocean itself seems to open, as if some ancient hinge has broken beneath it. A tower of ash erupts skyward with the roar of 1,000 jet engines. Debris arcs through the air. The water around it churns white, then red, then black again. The ship's captain, startled, shouts for binoculars. What he sees is impossible. The Earth is giving birth. For centuries, Icelanders had lived atop the mid-Atlantic ridge, a place where continents tear apart and new land claws its way from the deep. But this was raw creation, a geyser of lava nearly 100 meters high, breaking through the sea. In that moment, no one knows what to call it. No one knows if it will last an hour, a day, a year. But in that instant, something begins that will end up rewriting geological textbooks and human patience. By afternoon, the plume is so massive it can be seen from aircraft windows. Pilots stare through cockpit glass at a black column punching into the jet stream, and beneath it, a shape begins to form, dark, jagged, steaming. A new island. News spreads through Iceland like wildfire. Government officials scramble, scientists rush to book flights, and the world watches, breathless, as the Atlantic Ocean, for just a moment, gives up some of its secrets. Within days, the first volcanologists arrive by helicopter. The air is thick with sulfur. The heat radiating from the newborn terrain is so intense they can feel it through the soles of their boots. The ground trembles with every jet of lava, a constant reminder that nothing here is stable. Every step is a gamble, and yet they walk, and measure, and record. Cameras capture scenes that look like humanity has traveled back to a time before time, when land was still wet, still new, still fighting for existence against the sea that wants desperately to swallow it again. A week later, the island has a name, Surtsey, after Surtur, the fire giant of Norse mythology, the destroyer of worlds. Though in this case, he appears to be building one. But the birth of Surtsey is only the beginning, because soon, something unexpected happens. The eruption continues for months, then months turn into years. Lava fountains rise and fall unpredictably, sculpting craters, ridges, and plains. Storms slam the infant island but fail to erase it. The Atlantic hurls waves at its fragile coastline with the persistence of a predator. But the lava keeps coming. In 1964, it grows again. In 1965, again. By 1967, the last eruption ceases, and Surtsey, against all odds, remains standing a permanent mark where there was once only ocean. But while the eruption fades, the story does not. Because as the island cools, scientists begin to notice something remarkable. Even though Surtsey is forbidden to all but a handful of researchers, no tourists, no fishermen, no curious wanderers, life is already trying to colonize it. Seeds carried by ocean currents lodge themselves in cracks between fresh lava stones. Moss begins to form on the warm, porous rock. Seabirds circle overhead, searching for perches. And where birds land, they leave their mark, not just feathers, but nutrients. The first soil begins to accumulate. The world watches as biology attempts its first tentative steps onto a blank canvas. Governments across Europe attempt to send explorers, but Iceland says no. This place is not for human footprints. Not yet. Not ever, if they can help it. Surtsey becomes the rarest of places, a scientific time capsule of pure, untouched creation. A chance to see how life evolves when humans do nothing at all. By 1970, it becomes clear that Surtsey is not only a geological miracle, but a biological experiment that simply cannot be replicated. Scientists strict protocols, no outside seeds, no snacks, no accidental contamination. Researchers must inspect every pocket, every sleeve, every bag before they step onto the island. Even one loose breadcrumb could disrupt decades of natural development. This is a sanctuary for a world before us, a place where Earth writes its own story, with no human editing. But isolation comes with a price. While Surtsey begins attracting global fascination, it also attracts something else: temptation. Rumors spread through Icelandic fishing communities. Stories of treasure hunters who want to claim the first human-made mark on the Virgin Island. Adventurers who dream of camping atop its black cliffs. And of course, journalists who want the front-page photograph no one else can get. By the mid-70s, the government is forced to issue explicit warnings. Unauthorized landing on Surtsey is illegal helicopters that fly too close risk rockfall or sudden updrafts of hot gas. Boats attempting to beach on its shore risk grounding on razor-sharp new rock. Yet the danger only fuels curiosity. In 1979, a rumor circulates that a group of young explorers from Reykjavik plan to land on the Forbidden Island under cover of night. The Coast Guard is alerted. Patrols increase. But the island remains untouched. Officially, no one has set foot there besides scientists. Unofficially, that's a different story. Because late that summer, when a research team arrives for a scheduled survey, they find something on the shore. Footprints, not bird prints, not seal tracks, human footprints, leading from the waterline up toward a small rock overhang, and then stopping. The discovery is hushed. Lockers are checked. Logs are reviewed. No one comes forward. And after weeks of deliberation, Icelandic authorities make a decision. They will not reveal it to the public, because admitting that even one unauthorized visitor walked across Surtsey could jeopardize its protected status, its scientific integrity, its future. Instead, the island becomes even more restricted. From this moment on, only a tiny fraction of approved researchers will ever be allowed to land. For everyone else on Earth, Surtsey might as well be on another planet. Meanwhile, life on the island becomes stranger. Plant species appear in places that defy explanation. Some arrive by ocean, some by wind, some hitchhike on birds, but not all. In 1985, scientists find a tomato plant growing near a small geothermal vent. A tomato, on an island no human is allowed to visit, no seeds allowed to be carried, and no reason for one to exist. Researchers dig deeper and find the answer. Someone, at some unknown time, defecated on Surtsey. A single act that delivered seeds from a modern human diet and threatened decades of carefully preserved biological purity. The plant is immediately removed. The incident becomes a dark joke among field biologists. The Great Tomato Scandal. But beneath the humor sits a chilling realization. It takes only one mistake to rewrite the story of life here. As the decades pass, Surtsey continues to shrink. The ocean gnaws at its fragile western shore, carving away cliffs. Storms collapse lava tubes. Parts of the island disappear into the sea as quickly as they once rose from it. Satellite images show its coastline retreating year after year. Geologists estimate that within a few centuries, maybe even sooner, Surtsey will be gone, erased as quickly as it appeared, a brief flare in Earth's memory. And yet, while the island crumbles, its ecosystem flourishes. Moss gives way to grass gives way to flowers. Insects arrive, carried on driftwood, trapped in sea spray, or blown across the ocean by windstorms. Then come the first puffins, digging burrows into its still warm soil. Each new species is a chapter in a book that began with fire and ash. A book still being written by nature alone. In 2008, Surtsey becomes a UNESCO World Heritage Site, not because of its beauty or its rarity, but because it is the only place on Earth where scientists can watch an entire ecosystem unfold from absolute zero. A world born yesterday, a world untouched, untraveled, untrampled, a world that began with destruction and slowly, relentlessly, climbed toward life. Today, the island exists behind an unspoken wall, a place visible from the air, shimmering in satellite photos, but forever out of reach. For all humanity's curiosity, ambition, and exploration, almost no one has ever walked its surface. Maybe 100 people total in 60 years. A smaller number than the population of the International Space Station. Surtsey is a reminder that there are still places we do not touch, places we observe quietly, respectfully, from a distance. And yet, despite all the restrictions, Surtsey lives in a state of constant threat, not from humans, but from the ocean itself. Every year, winter storms tear more pieces away. Waves crash like battering rams against its cliffs. What was once a towering shield of hardened lava shrinks inch by inch. Scientists debate its future. Some say it will last 400 years. Others say 200. A few say less than a century. No one knows for sure. Nature does not reveal its timelines easily. But this uncertainty is what makes Surtsey extraordinary. Most islands are ancient, born in deep time, shaped over millions of years. But Surtsey is young, so young that humans filmed its birth, so young that the heat of its creation still lingers beneath its crust. And yet, in geological terms, it is already dying, an entire lifespan witnessed by a single generation. The island forces a confrontation with scale, with fragility, with the fleeting nature of even the most dramatic events. It rose in fire, it will fall in water. And in between those two extremes lies a brief window when life tries to claim it. A window that humanity, for once, has chosen not to interrupt. Surtsey is a place defined by contradictions, born in violence, yet protected with gentleness, young enough to remember its own birth, yet old enough to carry the first footprints of puffins and gulls, visible to millions, touchable by almost no one. A place both real and forbidden, living and dying, growing and eroding. And perhaps the strangest part of all is this. One day, all that will remain of Surtsey is memory. Photographs, scientific papers, faded documentaries, records of a moment when Earth opened its seams and let something new slip through. But the island itself, its cliffs, its craters, its black volcanic plains, will sink back into the Atlantic. Waves will close over it. The map will smooth itself out, erasing the last trace of Surtur's gift. And when that day comes, future generations may look back at the photos and wonder if it ever existed at all. Because how do you prove the existence of a place that disappeared within a lifetime? How do you describe the miracle of land that rose from the sea and returned to it, leaving almost no evidence that humans were ever there? Maybe that's the true power of Surtsey. Not that it appeared, but that it will vanish. And in doing so, it will remind us that even the earth itself has secrets, some revealed in fire, some buried in water. Secrets that surface for just long enough to be witnessed, studied, protected, then lost. A place that erased itself from the map. A creation story with an expiration date. A world born in 1963, already slipping away. And perhaps that is what makes it unforgettable.